Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff and Tam McManus are here with me in the studio, and thank you very much to each and every one of you for joining us as ever. We always like to say, Ruffy, 4 to 5, Monday to Friday, but every now and then we have, to be fair, we've only had two technical hitches in about 500 shows.
Yeah, I can't remember any issues at all. And it's obviously out with our control.
Yeah, absolutely. So apologies to everybody for yesterday. We did put the show up a little later on, but more often than not, we've got a 99.5% strike rate, I think, of going live, and hopefully you are enjoying the show and subscribing to it. It's PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. It's uncensored football news and banter, and it's absolutely free. What more can I say than that? And we've got lots to talk about because we're going to hear from Giovanni van Bronckhorst. We'll hear from Ange Postecoglou as well. Lee Johnson speaking, and of course we'll speak to the man who's sharpening up the boots, Ruffy. It's as simple as that for Tam McManus, the Hibs correspondent.
Yes, he's on certain terms told him to get his act together.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll hear from hard-hitting McManus, who he's going to have to really be hard-hitting right across all the people that are paying him a check, Ruffy, and that becomes ever more difficult, as I can tell you from experience. Okay, Brian says, Peter, have you asked VAR to review the technical hitches? Well, Brian, you'll never believe it. We did ask VAR to review our technical hitches from yesterday, but unfortunately the cameraman at that time hadn't turned the camera on, had gone for a drink and didn't have it on the 18-yard line, Ruffy, so we didn't know what the problem was in the first place.
No, I know, but thankfully he's got it sorted for the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's get into the meat and bones of things, and cameras seem to be the main problem in the news. So the SFA have admitted a VAR bungle, I love that word, in that win for Celtic over Motherwell at Fir Park, as the relevant 18-yard camera didn't capture the controversial offside incident, but they maintain it was offside. So here's what they had to say. Referee operations can confirm that during a VAR review at Motherwell versus Celtic, the footage from the relevant 18-yard line camera did not capture an appropriate view of the incident. While the broadcast footage was only able to show a wider camera angle for viewers, Hawkeye technology is designed to calibrate an accurate offside decision from either of the two 18-yard line camera positions, with the subsequent VAR review determining that the Celtic player had received the ball in an offside position. We have provided feedback to the host broadcaster on the incident as part of our regular review of the system operation. Well, how are you going to take that? Because at the end of the day, that's saying that Hawkeye, which actually monitors those lines, said Jota's offside. It's not about the camera, it's about the Hawkeye, which, as you know, operates in tennis and other sports, Tam. We have to take their word for it.
Yeah, we have to. I think that obviously a lot of Celtic fans are into all conspiracy theories with referees and the SFA, but you know, it was a very, very tight decision, and if they're saying it was offside, then you've got to go with that. You're right, but I think a lot of Celtic supporters would be frustrated, not only because it was given offside, but with such a quality goal as well. You know, wonderful play from Kyogo and a great finish from Jota. It's unacceptable. You know, they've got to get that sorted out. You know, that could have been, what if that was a last minute in a game? You know, and it was a deciding goal or whatever. You know, so they've got to get that correct with big games coming up after the break. But hopefully they've learnt their lesson. It doesn't happen again.
Well, it's an interesting point you make, because Ange Postecoglou speaking today was very critical of VAR.
It's why I was uncomfortable with the fanfare when we introduced it. Everyone was, you know, it was the talk of the town. VAR's coming as if it's something that, you know, is brand new. Australia, which, you know, everyone seems things are backward, had VAR 4 years ago. It's not a new thing. It's not new. It's been around for quite a while. Referees in our league who referee in Europe have used it. It's not. So we make it out as if this is a really big thing and big expectations. And, you know, for me, it should have just been, well, you know what, we're prepared, we're ready, we're bringing it in, let's get on. But you know, we've made this big fanfare, and now we're saying, you know, expect teething problems. I don't know why there would be teething problems for something that's been around for 4 years.
I agree with him, Ruffy, because, you know, of all the problems that we witnessed in the English Premier League, other countries have had it, as he mentioned there, Australia, but in the Premier League in England, which was really the kind of a flag bearer for Scotland, watching what was happening, the nightmares that were unfolding, the tweaking of the situation, if anything, the Scottish Football Association and the referees would have been, so clear on what the problems were that that had surfaced down in England, and they should have been aware of that and looked at it and said, okay, we're like a well-oiled machine with this. We should be able to hit the ground running with less than the controversy that's happened over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I think most of the things he's talking about is the interpretation of the handball. I think he's still seething from 2 or 3 incidents that went against Celtic in that instance. We've already documented, the failing at Motherwell. It's a technical thing, it's a one-off. That particular thing's a one-off. But I think he's more annoyed with some of the other stuff that's going on. But as we know, these technical things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. but can I just remind you, Ruffy, we're not on the budget that they're on for VAR for the technical problems, and quite a few people have said I didn't put the 10 bob in the meter. Remember those days? Thanks for that, Bartholomew. Remember those days, Tam? Absolutely fantastic. But listen, technical hitch is fine. We take their word for it. But I think, Tam, we should have had a better percentage of things correct, but that interpretation, the reason why we're not like a well-oiled machine is because I think a number of our referees are inferior and they're not making the right call, and their interpretation is still suspect, not only on the park but back at the offices at the VAR studios.
Yeah, listen, I think that when you look at England, obviously they had teething problems, but they're full-time down there, and I'm absolutely certain that they would have been practising it all the time before it came into play. They've had the time, they're full-time. We haven't got full-time referees, so they're probably doing it on their day off or whatever. So I think we are behind where England were when they first started, but I don't think there's any excuse for that, for cameras not working. Everything's got to be 100% correct and working. The interpretation from referees, is obviously something that we're going to have to deal with. We're going to have to accept because it's their interpretation. But I think technical issues with cameras and different things and angles and lines, that should not come into play. All that should be 100% correct.
Yeah. Okay, you can give us your view on that.
See, before we move away from the Motherwell game, was there anything about that tackle that the Motherwell boy had in the Celtic player?
Yeah, well, he picked up a yellow card for it. I must admit, I thought it was
the boy still away.
I thought
with that instance when he's
that's a classic one. He got there as soon as he could, Ruffy, wasn't it? But I thought that was a bad tackle as well, and he was lucky to pick up a yellow card. Sometimes I think because we're in a situation where you are reviewing things and you're wondering what's going to be reviewed constantly. Remember, there are only 4 things that the referees have to take into consideration here. It's 4 factual things that they're taking into consideration. 2 of them I say factual, 2 of them are open to the referee's interpretation, be it on the park or the VAR, who then instruct the referee to come and have a look at it again.
Yeah, that obviously one of them's a tackle for a yellow card and
goals,
change it to a red card.
Mistaken identity, red card, and the other one, the 4th one, what's the 4th one?
Last man?
No, oh Jesus. I had no point looking at you two because the odds are a million to 1. You weren't at the VAR. Mistaken identity, red card, goals, and
offside.
I think it's offside.
Mm-hmm.
But
offside.
It's 4 areas that they look at constantly.
But there was already a decision overturned last week, and a guy who got a yellow card, and VAR looked at it and said, "Look, that's worse than a yellow. You need to give him a red." So, but they never even looked at it.
Yeah.
The challenge.
Well, I wouldn't like to go into goals, penalty decisions, red card incidents, and mistaken identity. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's your 4. Do you know that way when you're on this show and you always say, you know your players. You've got to know your players. And when I looked at the 2 of you with your 1,000-yard rabbits there, I thought, this is not the show. We're going to get that 4th one in. I did actually, and I was at the VAR, and I'd written down all the notes on it. My apologies, but nevertheless, we got there in the end on it. But it's causing a lot of consternation. My feeling on it, Ruffy, is the referees are not good enough at the moment, and I think their interpretation of the handball is infuriating. I think it's going to continue, and I think they've got to try and work on it continually in that World Cup break. Look at the World Cup, study it, look at the interpretation from very good referees. And the reason that it's not just having a dig at these referees, this is a fact. There are no Scottish referees at the World Cup, Ruffy, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah, there's a reason, because we don't have any experienced ones in now. They've all retired. They're all doing supervisory work, you know, and looking at up-and-coming referees there. A lot of them are quite young and they're inexperienced. But we have got 3 or 4, you know, who are very experienced, and they'll admit as well they need to be good enough to get to these big tournaments, because that's the only way that they're going to improve as well. But unfortunately, there's none of them there now.
Okay, that's from the Motherwell Celtic game, gone to bed. The other thing that I think is going to really annoy people, and I'll tell you something that annoyed me, and I know quite a few people were a wee bit miffed at Robbie Neilson for saying it the other night there, Tam, with regards to Rangers against Hearts. But if you are in a situation where you are constantly having to look at VAR, and you're looking at decisions and you're waiting to find out if it's a goal, or there's something else that's reared its ugly head that the referee is forced to go and look at it, that's taking up time. Mm-hmm. And Robbie Neilson, some people will say, oh, sour grapes, you know, you got your 3 minutes when it should have been, he thought it should have been 7 or 8. The time's not added on properly. Mm-hmm. You know, I still think you should stop. You've got to stop the clocks, Tam.
That's been a problem for a number of years. You know, I don't think there's ever enough time added on at the end of games. Sometimes if a team's 4 or 5-0 up, you know, and there's been substitutions and stoppages, they just blow the whistle because the game's finished. They interpret the game's finished. But I totally agree. I don't think you should have got 7 or 8 minutes. I think maybe a couple of more minutes, somewhere in between maybe. But yeah, I think you're right. You've got to be able to add that time on. You know, stopping the clock, I think with VAR, I think the games could go on for 2.5 hours in this country. You know, if you're looking at decisions. So
I think if you look at your referee and you say, oh, we've got Nick Walsh today, you should say we're adding 3 minutes on at the start and 3 minutes on at the end of the game, because Nick loves looking at a VAR decision, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He's the one that is at the forefront of every time I see him in a game in the last 3 weeks. I'm thinking, my God, any chance you can make the call on your own? Because, Ruffy, that's what a lot of people are actually pleased with down south. You know, I mean, I was speaking to someone who works down south and basically said the reason why it's getting better and better down there is because VAR will say, okay, let's highlight this to you. The referee will have a look at it, and then he says, but it's not us demanding that you make this call. This is your call ultimately. It's still the referee's call. It's not VAR says go over and look at it because we want you to change your mind. So it's still the referee's call, and that in itself gives you a little bit of latitude, whereas now we're getting to a situation where, and I'm not just having a go at Nick Walsh, but he's looking at 2 and 3 incidents in the game.
Yeah, but I think that's the early stages. You know, I think they're not confident enough yet to give the decision themselves. That's why they're just double checking, and they're just going over and having a look, you know, to make it doubly sure that they're getting it right. Because they know if they start taking it upon themselves and they get 2 or 3 wrong, they're going to get crucified.
Yep, absolutely. Celtic against Ross County. Home game, when you look at Celtic, only St Mirren have been able to take points off them in the league. It's just been relentless stuff from Ange Postecoglou's side. Don't think he has any new injury worries. He's got a bench that would easily fit into anybody's team in the Scottish Premiership. So are they going to get trouble, Tam, from a Ross County side that suddenly have got a wee bit of form about them?
No, I don't think they will. I think that Celtic will win the game comfortably. I think if Celtic are ever going to drop points, it'll be away from home. I don't see them dropping anything at Parkhead this season in entirety. Ross County obviously picked up a couple of decent results. You know, good at Easter Road during the week. Hibs were really, really poor right enough, but I think that Celtic will win that comfortably. I think I've went for 4-0. I think that will be a comprehensive win.
No, I think the last 2 results, Ross County gave them a wee bit of confidence. I think they'll go there. I think.
Oh, here we go. Come on, give me your 2 minutes. Give me your 2 minutes for Jan this Staggy.
Comfortable 2-0.
Yeah. By the way, are you staying up? Will you be staying? Are you staying up? Are you staying up at Dingwall?
No,
have you met Jan?
No,
have you seen the house yet?
No, I haven't. And unfortunately,
he's going to go. He's going to a big spiel about Ross County. Then he's going to go.
Wait. See before you got here, I'd about 9 years of this. This is unbelievable.
Right, Ruffy, let's
Ross
go on.
County went and frustrated the Rangers team at Ibrox, and I think that's what they'll try and do at Parkhead. They'll try and do it tomorrow, and I think they will do it. I don't think they'll lose 4 and 5 goals.
Well, wait a minute. If they'll try and frustrate, and you says I think they will try and frustrate, and I think they will do it.
But they'll frustrate to a level that they'll only get beat 2-0.
I'd do it. It's the standard answer.
It really is, honestly. You do
a comfortable 2-0.
I think it will be eventually, but I think Ross County will make it hard for them.
Yeah, okay then, that's fantastic.
If Dundee United can go there and make it hard for 87 minutes, I'm sure Ross County can as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I've got 3-0. And by the way, not just a comfortable 3-0, a cruising 3-0. Okay? You know how you get these different levels?
I think you better wait and see what the team selection is.
Think it'll be a hard fought 2-0.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hakshabanovic has been included in this. He's having none of it. Ange Postecoglou. No matter who is included in an international squad for the friendly coming up, they're just not going. They're going to Australia. He's not having anybody, and I think he's getting a wee bit miffed at a few people who are questioning him on it.
Well, he can't send other players away to their country if he's not getting the Scottish boys there. So it's a blanket.
I thought he was good.
Nobody's going.
Has that been reversed?
No, you can't let him go away and not let the Scottish boys go away.
I thought we're led to believe that he was going.
He's not going.
No. So listen, I think Celtic are well within their rights. I understand why Steve Clarke's a wee bit upset about it, but this fixture has been, arranged for a long time in Australia. I think he's got to go over there with his full team. There'll be a lot of supporters there. They're obviously getting a lot of money for playing in the game, in the tournament, and I think they've got to go over with the strongest team that they can get.
Yeah, so I mean, Montenegro will be looking and thinking, he's doing well, he's been playing the Champions League, we'll get him up for this friendly, but it's just not happening. And I think Tam's got a good point there. It's not a FIFA sanctioned friendly, so Ange Postecoglou is well within his rights, and to be perfectly honest with you, I know why he's getting miffed, because Steve Clarke is not bothering about the fact that 3 Celtic players are not there.
No,
he's not bothering. He's just putting on a kind of it's almost like a bog standard answer. Yeah.
I've got my job to look after. I'm doing the best for the national team. You want to do your best for the club side, and that's what it's about. But it's only a friendly, and he's got enough young players who want to get a game in that Scotland team. So I think it's just making a point.
The worst thing that can happen is it sends them away in a friendly and they get injured. They get a bad injury, and I think when you look 20 years ago, a certain player went and got a bad injury in a friendly game and his career was ruined at Celtic.
John Kennedy.
Yep, it's a good point, Tam, and a good call for you on that. Yeah, trying to think of the guy.
Ianu or something, Romanian.
Yeah, it was a Romanian player, but I can't remember the guy who actually put the tackle in. But it was a bad one, and John Kennedy's life changed forever. To be perfectly honest with you on that one, but. Listen, friendlies I think are a thing of the past. The appeal of them is ever diminishing, roughly in my mind. If somebody says to me in a pre-season, why are you going to have a look at the pre-season friendlies, I think, I'd rather stick needles in my eyes.
International wise? No, I think
club wise, international wise.
No, international wise, if you arrange a game with Brazil or Italy or Spain or something, you want to go and see it, but certain teams you wouldn't buy into, and that's why they're playing away from home. Maybe nobody turning up if it was here.
Yeah. Absolutely, well, that's my point.
Yeah.
so what are you arguing with me?
If it was a bigger team, you would turn up.
Okay then. St Mirren against Rangers. I'm going to see it. I'm going to go there, and I'll tell you this one.
Where's Motherwell the weekend today at the away?
Can I just say to you, by the way,
a season ticket.
By the way, can I just say something to you?
5 minutes down the road, that's all.
Of course, it's 5 minutes down the road. Every now and then I like to nip down, but can I just say something to you? I think this season, I've near enough been at every ground. The only one I haven't been at this season I don't know why, is Aberdeen. Out of all of them,
I've been far away.
No, I've been to Ross County twice, for God's sake. So I haven't been to Aberdeen. Which
and you've got a good relationship up there.
He's an Aberdeen hater.
Don't start stirring it. I've got a great relationship with Big Malky's good for him up there. I like Big Malky, and the manager is. I've got a lot of time for Jim Goodwin. I really like Jim. But I'll go up to Aberdeen before we get to the end of the season. But the thing is, Tam, as you well know, to appreciate a game of football and to be able to call it in the Scottish Premiership, you've got to be at the game to see everything on a wider scale. Is that fair?
Yes, I know that. I know that from obviously going to the Hibs games the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And for the most part of last season, falling asleep at the games. But you're right. You get a better view if you go to the games, and that's why, I probably was a better pundit last season than I was this season. In terms of Ruffy, Partick Thistle.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The one
great thing. Are you going to Morton tomorrow?
Well, I'm terribly sorry, but as you've seen every ground in the Premiership, I've saw more grounds in the Championship than you.
Yeah.
Because I've been to a few of them with my responsibilities.
And I have to say to you, Ruffy, if this was a Championship show, that would be a great line.
We do cover. we cover. I'm here if we do the Championship, as we do. We go down the divisions, and I obviously know a wee bit more about these teams in the Championship than yourselves.
Yes, absolutely you do. And you also know a wee bit more about starters, main courses and sweets at every boardroom that you're in, by the way. So St Mirren against Rangers, really looking forward to it. And our reporter Kerry Pollock's been out and about to find out what's happening at St Mirren and of course at the Rangers camp.
I'm here at Auchenhowie this afternoon, Rangers Training Centre, where Giovanni van Bronckhorst has been looking ahead to this weekend's clash against St Mirren and his last chance to gather 3 points before we break for the World Cup for 5 weeks. Speculation also surrounds those players who haven't renewed their contracts. The manager put it simply, if players don't sign contracts, then uncertainty at the club stays.
Well, I think it's not about a break. It's just, it's we can talk now. We have been talking with them previously, so it's not about the break. It's just make sure, as you said, the uncertainty will stay if players don't sign a new contract. That's the position you will have as a club if you have so many players out of contract end of the season. So that uncertainty will stay, I think.
Unlike Celtic, Rangers have allowed players who have been selected to travel for international friendlies to join their teams on these trips. Midfielder Ryan Jack has been named as part of Steve Clarke's Scotland squad to face Turkey next week, despite being injured for his club for 6 weeks. But the Gers boss says these trips can help those players who are needing minutes.
Yeah, but I think they have a trip to go, so they need their players. I think that's normal. Every club team will make his decision. For me, the same, because we have players who played so many games. So I think it's for us also like to see which players can go, because you don't have to release them. But some players, might need minutes to be fresher. Ryan Jack is one of them, I think. He will be involved in the squad tomorrow, but also he's been a couple of weeks out. So I think he's one of the players who is more beneficial for him to have minutes.
Yeah, good stuff there from Giovanni van Bronckhorst. And
Did you see the press conference? He's back at Rangers as well.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, listen,
Did you
Nick.
see Gio's face on a Friday rather than...
Absolutely. Calm your jets. We're not there. We're not there yet with all of them. We've still got a battle on elsewhere, but nevertheless, and Nick is doing a great job out there as the PR guy at Rangers. And of course, it's good to hear what Giovanni had to say there. He's got his worries. Sakala, Colak out as well. Jack just coming back, maybe playing for Scotland. But I think the manager will just be happy to get this one out of the way, Ruffy. And from his point of view, he'll want no hassle so that he can then reboot the squad for coming back after the World Cup.
Yeah, it's a massive game. I know it's just in at St Mirren, but it's a massive, massive game for him. He needs to come away with a win. He would take 1-0 off you right now and move away with a break. Sort of a quiet everything down, let the supporters go away, happy, which I think will be a good thing as well. And obviously all the sort of media stuff will die down as well, so it'll give him breathing space, but he needs to win the game.
Totally agree. I think that obviously the noise from the Rangers supporters after that St Johnstone defeat, a lot of them want him out the door. I think that the board will continue to back him as long as he keeps winning games, and the 2 games before the break were vital. They've got 3 points the other night, albeit not a vintage performance. And as I said, if they go to St Mirren and win, they stay just about in touch in the title race. Are still in both cups. So I think you'll get an opportunity to see it out to the end of the season. But as I said, anything other than a win on Sunday, then he's in trouble again. Yeah,
so if he wins this one, then you think the break, he'll see it out to the end of the season?
No, I think he will. I think he will. I think they will see it to the end of the season. I think
even with the Old Firm games, if they don't go according to plan.
No, I mean, I don't know who you would bring in. I think they see it out to the end of the season, and then they make a decision then. But I think as long as he wins against St Mirren, I think the best day of execution for him.
Where are we again this year with the Champions League? Are we still 2 clubs getting in?
Well,
Still 2 clubs.
yes.
Is it the coefficient if somebody
there's
jumps
one
above
straight
us?
in, and then there is your
Qualifier.
qualifiers. But that could change dramatically because I think Rangers obviously picked up some coefficient points from the way they
Overall with
actually
a stinker, didn't
qualified. Yeah, but we had an absolute stinker. And if Scotland obviously had got to the World Cup, that would have been a shoe-in for us for all the points. So it's problematic to say the least, Ruffy, for us, and it's certainly not a guarantee moving forward in the Champions League, or indeed if anything else develops in a new Champions League. I wouldn't rule that out either. But the game itself, I think Rangers just desperately trying to get there. It doesn't help when you start seeing things like, headlines, Sean Dyche hasn't ruled out a move to Rangers. I always sometimes, sometimes, Tam, you can read a paper within 4 seconds and work out rubbish. Sean Dyche's not going to be the Rangers manager.
If you read his comments, it was I think it was taken on a talk sport or something like that, and he said that he would like to come up and watch the game.
Yes.
An Old Firm game. So that's...
Sean Dyche doesn't rule out going to Rangers.
So that's led to him not ruling it out, but
Yes.
I think he mentioned that he's only been out of job for 2 or 3 months and he's still his eyes on a Premier League job. I think Rangers would take him tomorrow. But
Yes.
I don't think he would come to Rangers, Sean Dyche.
Can't see it happening. Anyway, St Mirren, Stephen Robinson linked with Luton, but I don't see that happening either, Ruffy, because I think Stephen Robinson is happy with what he's doing there and the side that he's trying to build and the way they're trying to play.
And he made a
I
mistake.
bet if I said that, he'd be away.
And he made a
He'd be away.
Where did he go to Morecambe from? Was it Motherwell? Who did he go to from Motherwell?
I think it was Morecambe, yeah.
And he,
But he knows Ross Wilson
Yeah,
All right.
and Neil. He knows everybody down there.
yeah.
He knows everybody
Yeah,
down there.
Stephen, I think, is happy where he is at the moment. I think he's had his fingers burnt, and I think he's looking and saying to himself, "Listen, job to do here." I think the board are actually looking and saying to themselves in the background, "Wait a minute, shaky start, fans a wee bit grumbly, then all of a sudden gets his players in that he wants, starts to play a certain way, Ruffy." I've been impressed with him. I mean, they've scored some really good goals, play some good football as well. And I think, if anything, unless Rangers score early and put St Mirren on the back foot, this could be another one of those.
Bananas, it's a real tough game
This is
for
a
Rangers.
nervy one for Rangers.
Yeah, I think Rangers know that as well. I think the Rangers players know that. They're playing against a team who's in reasonable good form. I mean, they are in good form at home. It's just away from home they lose some bad goals, but at home they're buzzing. Their fans will be buzzing. There'll be a great atmosphere. So you're right. You're looking at this at Johnstone game. I couldn't see that coming. But it just shows you when you get a goal early on, and actually one of the goals of the season, it gives you confidence. So Rangers can't afford St Mirren to go ahead in that game.
if Celtic can go there and get beat, then Rangers can go there and get beat. Because I think Celtic are a better team than Rangers. So I think that's a really, really tough game before the break for Rangers.
Yeah, I've got Rangers to narrowly win it by 2-1, Ruffy. What about yourself?
I think I've got something similar to
No, you haven't.
2-0.
Yeah.
2-0.
Is it an
Standard
easy 2-0? Is it a comfortable 2-0?
I don't think it'll be
it's
an easy
another
2-0.
It's another Ross County 2-0.
It's a 1-0 and then maybe scrapping one at the end.
Okay, Tam, what's yours?
2-1 Rangers.
Okay, there you are. Give us your thoughts on that. Don't forget, uncensored football news and banter, and of course, no shortage of opinion. It's absolutely free, and we'll be right throughout the World Cup for you as well. We are not shutting down, basically, because Tam obviously wants to try and make sure the Russian satellite's still working in East Kilbride, Ruffy. So he's got to keep himself in the manner he's accustomed
Keep our
to.
eyes on the World Cup games.
It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it, isn't it? Are you?
So am I. I think it's something completely different. I think that listen, we were a wee bit annoyed that it wasn't on in the summer because we're used to the World Cup in the summer every year, but I think it's a good bonus leading up to Christmas, and you've got plenty of games, plenty of entertainment, and you can get behind your team you've got in a sweep or you've maybe got a wee bet on, so looking forward to it.
What did you get in the sweep?
I got Ghana and I got Argentina.
I think I think with the money that's going to be in the kitty that we've all put in the sweepstake, I think you and I are in with a right good chance, and there's one other team not been taken out of that sweep yet.
Have you picked it, Ruffy?
Yes.
Did you get Iran in
We're
Peru?
talking about it.
Who did you get?
What did you get?
Ecuador.
Ecuador.
And who else, Ruffy?
USA, I think it was.
Yeah. Oh well, you can just put your.
Stop it.
Why don't you put your
USA
five?
have got a chance.
What kind of chance? Why don't you put your fiver in the fire?
I've tried to buy another couple, you know.
You had to buy your way out of it, eh?
I'll start in there.
I've got France and Denmark. It's not a bad shout, is it?
It's not a bad shout.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a look at some of the outside bets. Would it be fair to say, forget the one man that I know is going to be in your head, is there an outside bet on, you know, an upset from a Portugal because of the other players other than Ronaldo? They've got some really talented players.
Portugal have got a great side, but I think that when you look how the draw is going to play out, I think that if Argentina and Brazil both win their groups, which you would expect, I think they're going to meet each other in the quarter-final. So it kind of opens up the other side of the draw.
Yeah.
And I had a wee look at Uruguay, for example, at 50-1. I think they might be a wee outside bet on the other side of the draw.
Can I just say something to you? This Monday coming, we're going to give everybody details of. We've teamed up with Fandex again, and we're going to give them the chance to enter. It's absolutely free competition, basically, where they get a chance to win daily prizes, and you basically invest in a player, stocks and shares, invest in a country. You know, put your fake dollars. It's not in, you don't need to put your money in, and you just get involved in this kind of a stocks and shares game to see, you know, if somebody scores a goal, their stock's going to go up, and there are prizes to be won. So we've linked up with the company again. We had a lot of fun in the Euros with it, so I think it's going to be something really, really good. So we'll give you details of that next week, and we're all going to get involved in it because we've got to have a wee edge in these games. Just out of curiosity. I know we're picking our teams. I must just mention, I have to say, I have managed to put a box together. Not that I'm asking you to do it, but I've managed to put a box together for a great initiative that's being run at St Mirren ahead of the game against Rangers. It's just basically from Kibble, St Mirren Football Club and the Scottish Leather Group are asking people who are coming to the game warm clothing, jackets as well, that are going to be distributed throughout the local community for people less well off than yourself. And I think it's a great initiative at the stadium because there are a lot of people who will not have basic things that, you know, they'll need for the winter ahead. Winter jackets, jumpers, scarves, hats, gloves, boots, blankets.
I wish they'd told me this before the day. I'd have brought you a barrel of the stuff over.
Yeah. Well, see, to be perfectly honest with you, Tam, it's a great initiative by St Mirren, but if you do have that sort of thing, there are so many areas in Glasgow and the surrounding area, and I know in Scotland as well, where these things are, you know, just so invaluable to people less well off. So I think well done to St Mirren. More often than not, where we as a country might look at things in a negative sense and might not mention the really good things that are happening. That from St Mirren Rough is brilliant. I've got coats and blankets and sweatshirts and everything that I've thrown in there.
That'll be interesting to see who gets the Bayside roller stuff.
Well, to be fair, to some points, let's not knock the rollers. You're still going to be warm, but you're just going to have this big tartan stripe down the side of your arm. But there's some good gear in there, and some warm jackets.
Yep. So, I think you'll find that most clubs do something for the community.
Yeah.
But they've kicked it off, obviously, but I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of things happening because obviously the way the country is just now, I think we have to help the supporters.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think a lot of people will appreciate what St Mirren are doing, and you're right to point out all the other clubs as well. Can I just give a mention to quite a few people who, somebody says to us, it'll be good to keep Ruffy watching games, you know, in the lower leagues, because by the way things are going at Partick Thistle, he'll be able to be our League 2 correspondent or our League 1 correspondent. Josh says, hi guys, it's great to be watching from Busan in South Korea. We haven't had that before.
No, we haven't. And funnily enough, I was watching a documentary the other night there.
Thank God for that, by the way. I thought we were off air.
Alistair Alexander is somebody you probably won't know.
Yeah.
He's a classical singer. He's doing a documentary in South Korea. It's fascinating.
Is that right?
Absolutely fascinating. A place I've never been. It looks magnificent.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for that, Ruffy. I think I'll keep on watching The Watcher instead. But thank you to so many people. And that's a great point by Ronnie Chapman, who says St Andrew's Hospice take clothing as well. So the hospices, I've got a whole... It's funny you mentioned
I usually hand them into charity shops and Kilbride Hospice over in East Kilbride.
Kilbride's good because I'm a patron of St Margaret of Scotland Hospice, and I've got another box for them as well. So just stuff that's medium that I can't get into, Ruffy.
Yes, we're doing our bit, Peter. What does Ruffy do? No.
What are you doing?
eBay.
Have you ever been to Cumbernauld Town Centre? It's full of charity shops.
I thought you were-
I supply every one of them. They know I'm on the card. I've got cards in my pocket that show you would frighten you.
Yeah. There's still a guy walking.
Auctions for the blood.
There's still a guy walking about Cumbernauld with the 1970 League Cup final jacket.
Garden Hospice, the lot.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, here's how it looks at the SPFL fixtures for this weekend. We've mentioned there those games: St Mirren against Rangers, the early kick-off; Celtic against Ross County. We're about to talk about Hearts against Livingston, Kilmarnock against Hibs, St Johnstone, Motherwell, Aberdeen against Dundee United, as well as big games in the Championship as well, which Ruffy is obviously fully aware of. And I want to get your thoughts, guys, on something that happened yesterday. It's in the papers today. Just a quote of someone talking about overall in the World Cup, a little story that I want to get your thoughts on as well. So thanks to so many of you for hitting the subscribe button over the first part of the season. We really do appreciate your support, and lots of people are listening to the podcast, downloading it. So many people are watching us on the app as well, Ruffy, and over and above that, the YouTube channel and all our social media channels, where Kerry and Adam are doing a great job, and we're bringing on more reporters.
And it's year on year, it's just getting bigger and bigger. You know, some years we take a chance and somebody bring them in, hoping they can produce the goods. Some of them come up with, some of them don't. But fortunately, you've done well with Tam.
Well, Tam's been absolutely. We've got. I think there's a new signing coming, Tam.
What is there?
There's a new signing coming.
Hopefully it's not for a couch. All right, they sitting in mine.
No, you're in with the bricks, big, and we can't get rid of you, Tam. But yep, new signings, and of course lots of things coming up in the new year, Ruffy, that I think a lot of people will come to PLZ Soccer for the unique content. And if you look in the phone, you know, it's there, Ruffy. It's your chance to watch the actual programme on the actual phone as well. So very good stuff to watch PLZ Soccer on the app. And thanks to everyone who's doing that as well. And thanks for all the messages about where you're watching, near and far. Ruffy and I have been bombarded with people who watch this. Errol Campbell says, what we need is a 90-minute show, guys. Errol, you away and take a run and jump to yourself. A 90-minute show. Errol, got to live a life, for God's sake. And plus, of course, I couldn't take Ruffy for 90 minutes, never mind 60. Okay, from St Mirren Rangers, and of course, we've already given the prediction on Celtic Ross County. Kilmarnock Hibs. What's happening, Tam? What's happening with your mob?
Tough times, I think, at Easter Road at the minute. I think that 5 defeats out of the last 6 has got the natives restless at Easter Road. I think the performance during the week against Ross County was by far the worst of the season so far. I think when you produce a performance like that at home and you lose 2-0, you come under scrutiny from the supporters. And now the supporters, everything comes under scrutiny when you're not playing well. And recruitment seems to be the main one at the minute. I spoke about it today in my Daily Record column. That
You're doing a column in the Daily Record as well? Wow.
I am. The 15 players that have signed over the course of the last season, the team hasn't improved since they sacked Jack Ross. So I think that it's a huge period coming up for Lee Johnstone. I don't think his job's under pressure at the minute, but I think in January he's got to sign better quality, because the guys he's brought in are not any better than the guys that were there. And he's, as I keep saying, he's still the bones of the same squad that's got the last 2 managers they can. So he's got work to do, and that tomorrow at Kilmarnock is an absolutely massive game for Hibs. It's not only that, it's a huge game for Kilmarnock, but I think if Hibs can win that, I think all of a sudden it just calms down a little bit. But if they get beat again and it's 6 defeats out of 7 going into the break, then I think a lot of supporters would be looking for a change.
Yeah, really?
I think so. Even this early, I mean, you've got. I don't personally think you should change a manager. I think they've changed the manager too far.
He had a great line the other day there. He says to really bed in, he needs 5 transfer windows.
Yeah. I don't think he's going to get that. He's not going to get that under Ron Gordon, is he? Let's be honest.
Does he know that Hibs are the Sunderland of Scotland?
Yeah, he's not going to get that. As I say, I don't think he should be under pressure, but I think if you lose 6 out of 7 at Hibs, then you will be under scrutiny. So I hope that they can go down tomorrow to Kilmarnock and get 3 points and just ease away into the window, because the 4 games after the break, they've got Rangers, Celtic, Hearts and Livingston. That's right after the break. So he needs to get a win tomorrow.
Oh, he's under pressure, isn't he? I'll tell you, I mean, there's very few clubs where you can go on a run of maybe 5 consecutive defeats and not be under pressure. But there's one. You could be the manager of Partick Thistle and lose five consecutive games, and you're in with the bricks.
Has he got an excuse of players been out?
Well, he has. He's got Kevin Nisbet out, Aidan McGeady out, McGuinness out. Boyle out. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Nisbet when he comes back in. I think he'll come back in and walk into the team. So I think they need a result, but he needs to find something. I spoke about it today, that he maybe throw in a couple of younger players. Unfortunately, I think they're away to Portugal, so I don't think you'll see them tomorrow. But I think going into the break, after the break, he's got to introduce some of that really successful youth team, because I think
he's going to do that, Tam.
I think he will.
Yeah,
I think he will. I think the way he was talking yesterday in the press conference, I heard that they're going to be more involved after the break. So I think that will bring energy and a bit of life to Easter Road with these young boys getting a chance.
Well, if anything, he was also talking about the fact that as a manager, he needs to try and offer them support and shield them from the criticism that's coming their way.
To physically go again, it's like one more round, if you know what I mean. That's sort of the message, and the physical performance becomes important. But like, it's also, as a manager, is to be a support at this point for lads, because it was a game where we all took like a load, which was fair. At the same time, those are the boys that are in the arena. The heat's on them.
Yeah, the heat is on them, Ruffy. This is a tough one to call, because listen, the one thing that always is annoying as well, if you're trying to get a result, is the last thing you need is constant speculation about players. Ryan Porteous, Stoke, the latest to be interested. Millwall have had a look at him, a few others, and he knows what's on the table at Hibs, but he'll be off.
Yeah, and he knows as well.
Yeah.
He's been in negotiations. He knows the way negotiations has went. He knows what they've offered him. He knows what he's knocking back. So he definitely knows where the boy's going, and he just got to make that a side issue, and the club will come to a decision on that. I think tomorrow's a must-win for him. I think he's got to win the game.
Yeah.
I think.
Hold on a minute. A must-win.
Yeah,
what
must
does that
win.
mean?
Anyone.
He loses.
He loses, and then he gets knocked out the cup, and another couple of bad ones, and I think the American owner will.
Oh, wait a minute, you said tomorrow's a must-win game. Does that mean if he loses it?
No, it puts pressure on him if he doesn't win it.
Right, so
big pressure.
Not really a must-win.
But not the one.
Not the one that gets him sacked.
Right, so it's it's close to a must-win.
Well, let me rephrase it then.
It's a big game.
It's a big game.
It's always a big game. Ruffy, they're not going to sack him. Brian says Lee Johnson's sacked before Christmas.
I think that Hibs tomorrow, they have to go down there and be physical and be gritty and be dogged and battle. I think that there's no a place you go, Kilmarnock, that pitch where you can go down and you get time in the ball and you can swan about. They've got to roll their sleeves up against Kilmarnock tomorrow. They've got to show the supporters that they've got heart and they've got courage and they've got a bit of dig about them, and if it's a 1-0 win, if it's a horrible 1-0 or a 2-1, then they take it, but they've got to get down there and match Kilmarnock physically.
Well, Alan Wood says Hibs should just put the chairman's son in charge and that would cut out the middleman. You've had your say on that as well this season, but nevertheless, he's got to go there and produce something against a Kilmarnock side, Ruffy, that are under pressure as well. I mean, Derek has got to use all his experience to try and get something out of them.
Yeah, it's noticeable since Kyle Lafferty's dropped out the equation. They don't seem to be the same team. They do leak goals. It's there for everybody to see. I think they've got a lot of experience in there. But I think I've stuck my neck out here and went Hibs to win this one.
Have you?
Yep.
Yeah, what have you gone for? You've got Hibs to win this 2-1.
Yep.
Wow, what about yourself, Tom?
Well, Hibs seem to be costing me points. They were the only team that let me down during the week. I had 5 wins, 5 correct scores out of 6. So I'm going to go for a draw in this game. And I hope Hibs win, but I think it's a big game for Kilmarnock as well, and that's going to be a tough place to go. I'm going to go for 1 each.
1 each. Dan says, I can't see Hibs winning. I hope I'm wrong. But I've just gone for Kilmarnock 1, Hibs 0. I think at home, it's the chance for Kelly to turn the screw on them, and the way things are going at the moment, I'm looking at the table and I'm thinking to myself, God, that bottom end is now starting to drag a few clubs that didn't want to be involved there. So, interesting. St Johnstone, Motherwell. Remember, we were talking about St Johnstone possibly in relegation trouble. They've really battled back. And, of course, Motherwell are not too far away from being dragged into this because of their recent results. Stephen Hamill somehow has to get something out of the players that he has left at his disposal, because he's another man with more than a few injuries, and it could be a tough one at Perth. Kerry Pollock was out and about today at Fir Park.
One final push for Stevie Hamill's Motherwell side as they take on St Johnstone and Perth this weekend in the last game before the World Cup gets started. St Johnstone have picked up form in recent weeks, so 1 win in 8 will not be how the Steelmen want to round up before stopping for 6 weeks. The message remains clear from the Motherwell boss across the whole club and to the fans.
There's still not a lot in the league. I think a couple of wins, a couple of momentum swing, cut 2 or 3 results, and you're back where you want to be pretty much. I think the players have gave us a lot. We've asked a lot of the players so far, and they've stood up to that. I think, that's the message as a club, as a staff, fans. Just one last push before the window. It's another very, very tough game, but like you were touching on earlier, it's a massive game for us. It's important we go into the break as positively as we can.
It's one of those messages from every manager that want to just get a win so you can go there and go.
Yeah, it's a long month. We were talking about we're looking forward to the World Cup, but when you're domestically, if you're in a team, that is down there and 1 in 8, it could maybe 1 in 9. You've got to deal with that, internally for the next month. So it's a big game for them. I think St Johnstone have just got it for me. I think they've got a wee bit of confidence behind them now. Motherwell I know you're saying they're playing good football and that, but they're not coming up with a big goal.
No,
they're not coming up with somebody like the St Johnstone boy Brown, who hits a screamer against Rangers. They need somebody in their team, who's going to do something like that to just spark them and make them come alive in the game. But I think I've went for St Johnstone.
Yeah, I've got St Johnstone to win it 2-1, Tam, because if you look at it, I think the acquisition of Nicky Clark is a masterstroke.
Yeah, I think he's given them goals. I think they were always a decent side without putting the ball in the back of the net. 2 great goals the last couple of games, so I'm going to go for St Johnstone as well. I fancy them. I think I went for 2-0, but it'll be interesting to see if the managers of certain clubs offer the carrot of more days off if they can win tomorrow. I think there'll be a few managers say, right, if you win this game today, you can have a few extra days off next week or during the break, and I think that might encourage the players to run a bit harder.
Yeah, it's strange, Tam, how the difference in generations, isn't it? Because if there was a break for the World Cup under normal circumstances, everybody just goes mental, whereas now players actually, even if they're on holiday, are training to a level that you would not believe, to make sure that they are not in any way sluggish on their return. That's the professionalism of it.
No, there's no hiding from it. I think when you get the GPS bands and the watches and the apps and all that, you've got to hit numbers. I know Celtic do that. During the break, you've got to log in and you've got to hit numbers every day. And there's no hiding from it unless you attach it to your cat or your dog. Yeah, probably something I would probably have thought about. But no, I think there's no hiding place, and you've got to remain professional. But I do think that some managers will dangle a wee carrot tomorrow if you win the game.
It's strange, actually, Ruffy. If there had been GPS, Bertie would have probably taken him into the office and said, "Ruffy, I don't know what's happening, but you managed to do 100 metres in 7.4 seconds. So you're either in the taxi." We
had it well planned.
Yeah.
At Partick. There's obviously no technology involved. A wee set of scales. You get weighed.
Yeah.
You're not back for 3 weeks.
Yep.
So you stand on the scales. The physio looks at the dial and sees whatever weight it is. But what you do is you have somebody behind you with a wee tiptoe on the scale to give you that wee extra 8 or 9 pounds. Get me where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
So you get that wee extra
8 or 9 pounds. That's some holiday.
Fortunately, for 12 years I never had a holiday because I was always away at the World Cup.
Yeah.
So.
Brilliant. We used to do that. We done that. The only time I've ever done that was with John Hughes, Yogi at Falkirk.
Yeah.
So you get weighed on a Friday and a Monday. So you get weighed on a Friday, and if say you're 12 stone, so you had to come back in the Monday 12 stone. So if you weren't playing, it was difficult because you weren't doing it near the weekend. So at that point, I wasn't playing. So 12 stone, right, okay, whatever it was, and you came back, you go on the scales on a Sunday at maybe 3 o'clock after a good night out.
Yeah.
12 stone 4. What am I going to do here? You get in the bath. I'd get in the bath and just put the heating on, roasting, get in a hot bath, come out it, maybe 12 stone 1. Next morning you got up, you were 12 stone. So I never done any breakfast. I'd get me a packed lunch, go on the scales, weigh in, and then I'd get into the toilet. So I'm getting to the toilet, boys, and just getting my breakfast. And there was a big goalie there, a big Dutch guy, I can't mind, Jerome, somebody, I can't mind his name, and he was a big boned. And if you were over pounds or 2 or 3 pounds over, you didn't train. You were on the bike until you lost the pounds. So the big goalie never played, his number 2 goalie. I don't think I've ever seen him training. just to get on the bike for half an hour, come out. The training was done by then, but that was big Yogi.
It's a great line, that, Robbie, isn't it? I'm big boned. It's a great cop out, isn't it? Brilliant. Anyway, listen, great tale for them both of you there. I'm sure that would bring a smile to more than a few people's faces. I think we've given our predictions on that, haven't we? Yeah, I've got St Johnstone to win. You
2-1.
Yeah,
2-0.
Yeah, 2-0. Okay. Just before we get to the other games, a little bit of breaking news that's come in. Celtic have been given a €17,500 fine for the anti-monarchy banner against Leipzig. It was a banner that said against hunger and the crown, and it picks up another fine, which just seems to be the norm, at the moment. Fans come out with these banners, flares, you name it, they get a fine. Yeah,
I mean, Celtic must be scratching their head. There's nothing they can do about it. You can't search every single person coming in, particularly away games.
Yeah.
And I think the Celtic fans will probably scrape together a just given and all that, and they'll think that that's okay because they'll pay the fine, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't reflect well on the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Gregor says big boned, not fat. There you are. That's the way to look at it. I think
I've been out with a few big bones.
Big Singer,
Big Singer. The shirts goes on for Big Singer. Anyway,
Big bones.
You're a bad man, Ruffy. So St Johnstone, Motherwell, Hearts against Livingston. I don't know what it is, but there's a few Hearts fans not happy with Robbie Neilson for his tactics against Rangers. I mean, if you go there and you think you're going to have a go, you get a Jim Goodwin result.
Yeah.
Andy Halliday had a chance to get an equaliser. He goes through his legs. He's 5 yards away from the goal line.
He's unlucky.
I know he's unlucky, but I'm saying to you, at the end of the day, if you want to go and play an open game at Ibrox, Rangers have got a good reputation at home. They'll take you apart.
Yeah, I thought the Hearts played pretty well. I thought they were solid defensively. They stayed in the game for as long as possible. I think it took Rangers an hour to break them down.
Yeah.
And then that was probably the game plan. Stay in the game for 60, 70 minutes, then we can have a go towards the end, the last 15, 20. And they've done that. Unfortunately, they never got anything out of the game, but I still think that Hearts are favourites for third place. As I said, they're starting to get players back. The big boy Rowles at the back with Civic. 2 of them looked very good the other night for Hearts, so they're starting to get players back. But this is a real tough game for me to call. I think Livingston are incredibly underrated. An incredibly underrated manager. I was contemplating going for a draw in this game, but I think Hearts might just edge it 2-1. But if Livingston can go and win this game, then they are real contenders to finish third this season for me.
Well, it's funny you saying that. I love David Martindale. We had him here in the studio, Ruffy, and the reason why I like him is ahead of any game, he always just pays a wee bit of a compliment to the opposition.
Mind games.
Oh, it's fantastic, and he reckons Hearts, if they really have a go at it, could finish higher than third.
Hearts, for me, with their full squad back, could be pushing for second, fighting for third with their full squad back, and a wee bit of luck with injuries, obviously. So, for me, they're a very, very good football team, and they're at home and we're away from home, so you'd expect Hearts to go into this one as the favourites, albeit the league table suggests that we're above Hearts in the league table, but I don't think we can read too much into that when you're going to a big club like Hearts.
It's magic, isn't it, David? Brilliant, a lovely little compliment, Ruffy. And then Livingston go there and pump them because they've had 2 back-to-back wins.
Yeah, they're the surprise team this year. Not surprise in the way they play. The surprise some of the results they're getting. You don't expect them. And if you're right, Tom's right. If they go there tomorrow and want to beat Hearts, you've got to say they're third or fourth. team in the league on form.
Yeah.
And certainly the players are playing with a lot of confidence. It's a shame at home they don't get a bigger crowd. I think that's a disappointing thing for them. But if they keep winning, and playing the football that they're playing, and everybody talks about their best players and that, the big boy up front, I think he's unbelievable. Unbelievable bit of ability, and he did it again the other week there. But the star man for me is their captain, Devlin.
Yeah,
I think he's superb. I think he could go to a right big club. I think he's a super. Nicky, super player.
Yeah, I like Nicky. Good lad. His dad is very
United.
Well, I was going to say his dad, Charlie, was he's heavily involved in the amateur scene with Drumchapel as well. He's totally football, and Nicky has been in the studio. He's a good lad, good player.
Yeah, he is a good player. I played him at United, and I always remember how quick he was, even back then when he was a younger player. But he's matured into a really good fullback, captain at Livingston. Very rarely injured. Always available. Good leader. So you're right. He is a good player. But Livingston over the piece they are the surprise package. But it doesn't surprise me. I think they're better than people give them credit for. I think people just think Livingston are a big physical team. Lump it up to a big man, but they don't. They play some nice football as well. And I think they'll go and give Hearts a real game tomorrow.
Yeah, and you've fallen into that Ruffy situation there, haven't you? With your niceties. If David Martindale's watching this, which I know he keeps his eye on it, that's really nice from Tam. And then we're about to get your prediction. I've gone Hearts 1, Livingston 1.
I've gone for 2-1 to Hearts.
Yeah, okay.
I've went Hearts.
Hearts?
Yes.
Do you remember what?
2-0 or 2-1.
Okay then.
It's there.
It's 2-1. That's Ruffy's bag at the moment. We've got a couple of things I want to get before we go out of here. Aberdeen against Dundee United. It's amazing. The Dons at home, they've lost only once in the Premier League, won 5 games, but 2 wins from 8 on the road is poor, and only won 3 games in the last 26 away from home. So the away form dismal. At home, the Dons fans love what they're watching.
No, I'm sure Jim Goodwin will be seriously having a look at the away form. It might be team selection, might be players that he's playing in there that shouldn't be playing. Maybe he needs to have a wee bit more dig in there and try to play an open game. But at home this year, they've been a joy to watch and scoring good goals.
I've got Aberdeen to win 2-1.
I've got Aberdeen to win as well.
2-1 Aberdeen for me, I think.
Yeah. What do you make of that story, Bologna? Lewis Ferguson, Juventus might be looking at him. I love stories like that. That's a great one for the agent to try and crank it up at Bologna for a wee bit more money.
He's only been there 2 minutes, isn't he? I think he's scored a couple of goals for them. To be fair, and he's been done well for them. But I think he's got to stay there at least a season and get a foothold in that league.
You buying into that, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think it's too early. I think he did an interview there and he was enjoying every minute. He's still learning the language but if Juve comes in,
He's Ofsky. Is that what you're telling me, Ruffy? Yeah. Can I just ask you, Ruffy, it's a big weekend for you. I know you're not going to be there, but it's Aki's against there tonight. Arbroath Cove Rangers, Dundee Wraith Rovers, Morton, Partick Thistle and Queen's Park Inverness.
I would hazard the guess that anybody that can put a line on and is allowed to put a betting slip on,
oh, here it comes,
will not be picking any of the games for the Championship.
Yeah,
because
too tough to call.
Teams at the bottom can beat teams at the top, and likewise all over the place. Well, I hope you get beat.
Yeah.
Hope you're ripping your coupon up.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, Ruffy. I just hope and I pray. I'm looking at the table. I really hope you guys can avoid relegation.
Well, 2 points for the second top.
Yeah, I know, but you're 9 points away from the bottom.
It's just a table.
By the way, you're sliding. You're going like that.
As all the other good managers have pointed out, when we get our best players back in, we'll be back.
And you've got the 5 of them this weekend, haven't you?
I might not. I can't disclose that.
I'd love to be a fly in the wall. 2 quick points before we finish, and thank you to everyone who's contributed with their own predictions as well. I'd love to be a fly in the wall for Bristol Rovers against Fleetwood as Joey Barton comes out at the start of the game to shake hands with the other manager of Fleetwood, Scott Brown.
Yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting one to see. Obviously, I think Joey Barton came up here, talk to talk, and unfortunately never walked the walk. I think Bruni kept his counsel and done his talk on the park, and Celtic absolutely battered Rangers. I think Joey Barton ended up in the back 3 at one game at Parkhead in a 5-0 or 5-1 defeat. So I think Bruni got the better of that argument up here playing wise.
Do you know who's the ref?
Bobby Madden.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. Bobby thought he was getting away from all the madness. He'll be getting belters. Ruffy, last point. I just want to check this out. The predictor. Let's have a look at the predictor to see exactly where you are, Tam. Are you happy with that? Ruffy on 130. I'm on 119. You're 2 behind me in 117. Alison McConnell's on 114, and then it's Tam Cowan on 103 and Hugh McDonald on 94 after another 13 in a row. I think he's gone for Rangers to draw in every game. He's just thrown the towel, and Hugh doesn't care anymore. It's as simple as that. Just out of curiosity, Ruffy, last point here as we head towards the end of the programme. The England squad was announced, and there's quite a number of people talking about the squad. 13 out of the 26 are Champions League players. 12 of them have won a major trophy. But some people are saying it's as good a squad as the 2006 World Cup squad. And I thought to myself, away and have a lie down.
No, they haven't. A lot of good individual players, particularly young players in that team who are doing it with their teams like Man City and all that. But
the England squad had about 3 world-class players in it.
Yeah, there's not any. Roy Keane. I think you're relying. That's who you're relying on.
Yeah.
If he was to get injured, you wouldn't even look at that squad.
I think defensively, as well, I'd be worrying about that England team.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at this team from the 2006 squad, right? Neville, Ashley Cole, Steven Gerrard, Ferdinand, John Terry, Beckham, Lampard, Rooney, Owen, Joe Cole, Sol Campbell, Davy Jones, Wayne Bridge, Carragher, Hargreaves, Jermaine Genius, Michael Carrick, Lennon, Stuart Downing, Peter Crouch, Scott Carson and Theo Walcott. Now the top end of that's frightening.
That's miles better than this squad.
Yeah.
Miles.
Yeah, absolutely. I looked at it and I thought to myself, seriously?
But we wish them well.
Well, I don't have the same kind of anti-English feeling as you do, but nevertheless, it's everybody to their own. I just love a game of football and love to see teams playing. I'll be at St Mirren. Kerry's going to be out there. She's going to be covering Celtic Ross County as well. Ali up out there at Kilmarnock Dundee United. Lots more reporters coming on board. Lots more content coming up on PLZ Soccer. Uncensored football news and banter. Hit the subscribe button. Hopefully, if you're not going to a match, you will have a great weekend and join us on Monday again, where hopefully, Ruffy, those hitches, technical that they are behind us.
Super. It's great. Free flowing. Don't get that in any other place.
Yes, absolutely. 5 days a week on the channel, on our own channel here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Thanks to everyone for joining us near and far as well. From Tam, Ruffy and myself, Peter Martin, enjoy your football.